down the track, boy.
The 90s, a transitional decade of sorts that quite literally brought us into the 21st century. We saw the debut of many things that are today common staples of society. The internet, cell phones, streetwear. Although it can be argued that many of these things were in infancy in the 80s, there is no debate that the 90s were a boom for things never seen possible in previous generations, most of which urban fashion gaining mainstream respect. I'm Nate the Great from Flight214.com, and this is our top 10 list of forgotten 90s streetwear brands. Before we get started, don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button, as you know the spiel. We're a new channel and it really helps us grow. Many of you guys were probably born in the late 90s or early 2000s, and likely have no idea that it was once seen cool for grown-ass men to rock shirts with Mickey Mouse characters on them, or for a jean cut literally described as elephant leg to be highly sought after. Brands like Supreme and Nike came into prominence in the 90s and managed to remain relevant to this day, but many brands were not so lucky and despite huge success, wound up falling by the wayside long before the Y2K scare began to ramp up. Number 10 on the list, Guess. And although basic, I'll admit they were relatively comfortable, but from an aesthetic standpoint, there really wasn't much to see. Despite the bland nature and high-end price point, people loved them. And if you didn't have at least one pair of jeans with an upside down triangle on your butt, people looked at you like your wardrobe wasn't complete. And before you say it, yes, I know, Guess is still around today, but do you own a pair? Do you know anyone that owns a pair? At number 9, Pelle. Pelle was an OG urban fashion company that launched simultaneously with the birth of hip-hop in 1978. What started out as a leather outerwear company turned into a full apparel brand and was heavily endorsed and advertised by 90s rap titans. Pelle can actually be credited as one of the brands to pioneer the super baggy look. Check out our history on hip hop fashion video for more on that. At number 8, Phat Farm. Another thing we covered in our history of hip hop fashion video was the transition from grimy streetwear to grown-up swag. And though I won't rehash it all here now, the Cliff Notes version is, Jay-Z at some point denounced his throwback jerseys in favor of, quote, crisp pair of jeans and button-ups. One of the popular brands to capitalize off of this was Russell Simmons' Phat Farm. Phat Farm brought prep to the streets in the 90s, but in a way that was never really considered corny, with Argyle sweater vests that added a bit of a collegiate look. Don't get me wrong though, they had their hood staples like denim suits and velour track jumpers, but the prep look was their overall theme. At number 7, P&B Nation. P&B Nation really doesn't get the credit it deserves as being a pioneering brand that brought together the worlds of hip-hop, graffiti, skating, and all other subcultures that existed independently back in the 90s. It was started by a motley crew of kids from all over New York City, and the fusion of uptown and downtown along with the Bronx and Brooklyn definitely shone through in the clothing. Any creative type in the 90s who was down with the East Coast grittiness was rocking P&B Nation, including Ed Lover in his final episode of Yo MTV Raps in 1995. At number 6, Ecko Unlimited. What was started as just another t-shirt brand became a household name in the world of urban fashion and eventually transcended the game to whole new heights. In a backlash of shiny suits and European designer clothes that was dominating a certain segment of hip-hop, underground artists like Mobb Deep and Large Professor started rocking Ecko, designed by owner Mark Ecko. Pretty soon, the Rhino logo was a symbol that represented a call for the golden era of hip-hop. And Mark went on to start Complex Magazine, which is now Complex Media. It's actually a pretty cool story. Perhaps that'll be our next video. What you think? Drop a comment in the comment section and let us know if you're interested on hearing about that in our next video topic. But at number 5, Pepe Jeans. No one really expected one of the biggest denim brands to come out of the UK. But since its launch in 1973 in London, Pepe Jeans is charged to the forefront of the denim world. Their popularity peaked in the 1990s, and every kid back then absolutely needed at least one pair. Not quite hood, not quite standard denim, their campaigns was close to the vibes of like the likes of Calvin Klein, but weren't really edgy enough to scare away suburban moms and dads from buying Pepe Jeans for their kids. And that meant that Pepe Jeans was in every store you looked in the 90s. At number 4, FUBU. Many people remember FUBU as one of the most popular brands in the 90s. An acronym for Us, By Us was an attempt to raise awareness for supporting black-owned business. FUBU capitalized off of the throwback jersey craze, releasing offerings heavy on the sport aesthetic. With football, baseball, and hockey jerseys all including the FUBU branding and iconic 05. LL Cool J reps super hard for FUBU, bringing him to the attention of the masses by boldly rocking a FB logo FUBU hat while in a Gap commercial. I mean, you gotta admit, it's pretty gangster. Wearing a completely non-related competition brand in another brand's TV ad? Classic. Pulling up the number 3 spot, Karl Kani. Karl Kani is hands down the godfather of black streetwear brands, and in the 90s it was simply part of the hip-hop uniform. Everyone from Tupac, Nas to Biggie repped for Karl Kani, and thus this is the blueprint laid that many soon would follow. At number 2, Starter. Believe it or not, before the brand was whored out to Walmart as a basics, low-price athletic line, Starter was highly sought after by urban fashion aficionados. And in the early to mid-90s, before the explosion of throwbacks, Starter ruled the sportswear game. Every kid was almost required to own at least one Starter team jacket, preferably the pullover variety. And Starter snapbacks were so popular that they were grailed during the snapback resurgence a few years ago, and remain treasured finds to some even today. So what came in at the number 1 spot? Iceberg. Believe it or not, Iceberg is an Italian fashion house founded in 1974 and still going strong. However, in the 90s, it was all about Iceberg's knits. And who knew that rocking Disney characters on your clothes would mean you were stylish? And although there's many trends and brands from the 90s that we don't understand now, back then having Goofy or Mickey Mouse on your sweater meant that you were fresh to death. So much so that the sweater is retailed for hundreds of dollars and the jeans even more. But despite the arguably overpriced ticket, the pieces were quality, testament of its Italiano roots. So there you have it, 10 top brands from the 90s. Some you may remember, some you may not. Of course, there were other brands that were popping too, but for the sake of time conservation, we had to choose 10. But here's a quick rundown of a few honorably mentioned brands. So what did you think of the list? Were there any that we missed? Drop us a comment and let us know how you felt. And also don't forget to slap the like and punch the sub if you enjoy content like this, because we do drop regular videos on all things hype and cool. So for flight214.com, I am Nate the Great, signing out. Till next time.